How do you overcome a deep-rooted habit like alcohol, especially one that's been around for a long time? Part of this process, or part of the understanding, is that there is a natural resistance that comes as part and parcel of the change. When you're trying to change, your brain is resistant against it. It's almost like you've got a split personality or something like that, That's just the power of how motivations work, of how desires work, of how, you want one thing, but you want the other thing at the same time, right? You can have motivations that are pulling you or trying to pull you in one direction. And you can also have motivations that are trying to pull you in the exact opposite direction. So, these two things can't be mutually or are mutually exclusive, but, they can coexist with each other. There is always that motivation to stop drinking alcohol, even when you're drinking alcohol. Everybody knows that this shit is bad for us, right? Everyone knows it. Your first hangover tells you that, right? The first time that the world starts spinning around or you vomit, you know this. You've just spent a lifetime trying to hide from those facts, right? Don't worry, I did it for 30 years, so it is what it is. But you've got these things, and because you've got that inner conflict, it's going to do you some damage over time, right? It's actually one of the best things that happened to me when I stopped drinking alcohol was that weight that lifted off my shoulders, because I had all of a sudden got rid of this inner conflict, that thing that was pulling me in opposite directions, at least in that part of my life. I had a lot of work to do in other areas of my life, that's for sure. Now, the alcohol habit has been built, it's been constructed, and it's been reinforced over many, many years. Think of it like the default thinking, the default way that your brain has constructed to think about certain things in my life. So I started out, for instance, when I was the boys are just running around like mental here. I started out in my life, one of the reasons why I drank was because it gave me an out for my shyness in the social scene. So I could go out, I could have a few pints and I wouldn't feel as shy, right? So that default thinking that I could do this, that turned into default behavior. And over the years, that is just turned into many, many different areas of my life. The more areas that you cover with alcohol, the deeper its influence becomes, right? The stronger the habit foundations become, right? So how do you overcome the default? How do you overcome this habit or these habits? Because it's not just one habit, it's a multitude of different habits. You stop feeding the old habits and you stop the flow of the alcohol. That's the start. That's you step through that door. That's the first thing that you do, the decision. And then you do the work, right? It's a process. Nature abhors a vacuum, they say. So you can't leave a hole where you took the alcohol out from. You can't leave a hole because it's leaving a lot of different holes, right? So one of the keys is to focus on creating new behaviors, focus on creating new ways of thinking. You focus on what you can change. Focus on the things that are wrong. For a start, you break down the habit into all of its different components, the rituals, the sequences that your brain is going through, the mindsets that your brain is going through within the habit. And once you've isolated those, then you can start to say, well, I don't need that anymore, and I can replace that with this. I don't need that anymore, I can replace that with this, right? Then you make those new behaviors, you make that new thinking more automatic and familiar. And how you do this is through consistent practice, right? Consistency is the key. Consistent practice means doing the same things over and over again. Repetition, my friends. That's what turns the new behaviors and the ways of thinking into habitual behaviors and habitual ways of thinking. This is how your habit got about that in the first place. Go back to my example of using alcohol as a crutch because I was really shy about going into the bar. You go into the bar first and you have a few drinks and, it's not great, but at least you're able to stay in there with a certain amount of you don't give a shit, right? And the more you do that, the more it helps you to not give a shit, right? And it doesn't do anything for you to overcome or to learn the skill of becoming more social, right? All it does is hide the fact that you are shy. It hides the shyness. It hides the problem, right? So anyway, you want to get to that stage where the new behavior and the new thinking becomes automatic, right? And then it becomes the default thinking over time. It's about the wiring. It's about rewiring your brain's habitual responses over time. That's the only way we can do this. All right. Take care of yourself. Habits V2 if you want me to walk through some of our system. Take care. Onwards and upwards. Bye now.